payment of caterers clears him.
No such evidence of mismanagement, impropriety, or misconduct was established by our enquiry against the interdicted national coordinator, Dr. Kwame Edunsia. Our interviews with the key listed personnel in the report equally did not reveal any evidence of malpractices as alleged against Dr. Kwame Edunsia.
The committee is also recommending a possible reassignment to another sector due to the poor relationship between the coordinator and the sector minister. We have more.
And in business, $3 billion Eurobond cash set to hit Bank of Ghana's account next week as Finance Minister Kenneth Rata promises to be prudent with the funds.
And Asante Kotoko still winless their last two games after a goalless draw with Wafa today, but it was a 7-goal thriller in Kumasi as Great Olympics defeated King Faisal 4-3. Join me in 54 details.
And with only 9 days to Valentine's Day and the Joy FM Love Experience, it is the turn of the men to tell us what their perfect gift will be to their women.
The ideal gift I would want, or present I would want to get my girlfriend on Val's Day will be a special treat, any place of her choice. Special dinner, I'll make it super romantic.
Meanwhile, the Love Poem Challenge is getting keener by the day. This time, the stew benders are deciding to show us their tensile strength.
My edge is to curve our love. No one can steal. The heat for my heartbeat is as hot as a furnace steel. This love is rare. It can only come from a bender of steel. There are lots I would love to bench, but wait till I reveal.
We have all that and more coming up here on Newsnight. Please join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp is 0244 340 437. I am Emefa Apawu.
And my name is Mensah. Well, the Attorney General has filed fresh charges against the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Johnson Isiama, founder of the Thanked UT Bank, Prince Kofi Amwabeng, and 4 others. Now, the charges, numbering 42 in all, include willfully causing financial loss to the state, fraudulent breach of trust, deceit of a public officer, and fabrication of evidence. Now, this is in connection with roles they played that led to the collapse of some indigenous banks. Now, the state earlier today discontinued the case against Mr. Amwabeng at the Circuit Court, serving notice of an action at the High Court. Well, that has happened now. They will be arraigned on February 12, 2020, with now that Mr. Siama has now been added to the list of people set to be prosecuted. At the time when Mr. Siama himself had been pretty vocal in criticizing the government's action when it comes to the banking sector. I want to bring in my colleague, Joseph Akable, who has been following this. Joseph, what more do we know?
And so there are actually 2 cases that have been filed. And so Dr. Isiama that you mentioned, the former second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, is actually being charged twice. And so first, let's deal with the one involving Mr. Amwabeng. And so for that particular case, there are 42 charges, as you pointed out. The charges, a number of them, it includes fraudulent breach of trust. There is also fabrication of evidence. There is also deceit of public officer and fabrication of evidence. There is also another charge of deceit of officer, a number of charges relating to deceit of public officer. In terms of the accused persons for that case, there are 6 individuals who have been charged. And so the first accused person in this particular charge sheet, as pointed out, is Dr. Isiama. He is the first accused person, or the second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana.
He wasn't part of the list before, was he?
No, he wasn't part of the first case that was filed in the morning.
This is the first time his name is coming up in as somebody who has been formally charged in connection with the banking sector crisis.
That is so, and he's been charged on 2 separate issues. And so this is the first one that we are dealing with. And the first one has him He's the second deputy governor of the former second deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana between May 2016 and December 2017. There is also Raymond Amanfo, if you recall him. He was the head of the banking supervision department at the Bank of Ghana from 2014 to October 2017. Then UT Holdings Limited, the company has also been charged. The next accused person is Mr. Prince Kofi Amwabin, who earlier in the morning the case against him at the circuit court was dropped. Then there is also Catherine Johnson, who is the fifth accused person, was the head of Treasury, who also acted as the head of corporate banking of UT. Then there is Robert Kwesi Ama, the sixth accused person, who was the general manager of the corporate banking of UT. In terms of why they've been charged, I can run it through the facts of this particular case. It says that by an agreement dated 1st November 2013, UT granted a credit facility of $15 million to Lusan International Energy Ghana Limited for the purchase of crude oil to be supplied to Petraco Oil Limited. As security for the facility, we are told that Lusan assigned a stock to UT. In furtherance of the supply of the crude oil to Petraco, Lusan chartered a vessel called Olympic Faith, owned by Medjugorje Enterprise, a Liberian company which was also contracted by Lusan to receive the crude oil for onward delivery to Petraco. On 14th of January 2014, Melville issued a writ of summons out of the register of the High Court against Lusan, claiming the amount of $6.7 million as unpaid fees for the charter of the Olympic Faith. Here's where UT comes in. UT applied to join the suit as an interested party to contest the Melville's claim to the cargo under a stock assignment agreement. It goes on to say that by an order dated 27th of January 2014, the High Court directed that the cargo be sold and $7 million out of the proceeds deposited in an escrow account with UT in the name of the registrar of the High Court at an interest rate of 2%. We are told that a letter dated the 21st of February 2014, addressed to the registrar of the High Court and under the hands of the fourth accused persons, the head of the legal department, confirmed the opening of the account. UT submitted to the registrar a statement of accounts and purported details of a call investment signed by the fifth and sixth accused persons. Investigations, the state says, revealed that three of the accused persons knew that there was no money in their account. They deliberately persisted in submitting false statements to the registrar. And so the Bank of Ghana revoked the license of UT for violating the banking laws and subsequently went into receivership. So investigations conducted later revealed that investments totaling $51 million and $8 million with UT by some 15 companies had been transferred to UT Holdings without the knowledge and consent of the companies. And so it was established that UT Holdings did not have a license to take such deposits and investments. And so that is it in terms of the facts of this particular case, Evans.
Thank you very much, Joseph. My colleague, editor with the business team, Joe Jaffe, is here with me on this as we now begin to learn about more names now subject to prosecution relating to the collapse of these banks. Let's start with Mrs. Siama, who is the former deputy governor of the central bank.
Yeah, you're right.
You recently, last year, right, spoke to him about the banking crisis. He had a strong position on it. He thought the banks should not have been collapsed by the central bank.
Yes, he argued that there were an alternative way, or there was an alternate in trying to deal with the question in terms of trying to help these companies or these banks by giving them some funds to help run the business instead of going that way of actually collapsing them. So he argued strongly that there was a plan B to deal with the situation, and if those who were managing the economy, that is government, had allowed them, they could have actually helped sustain these banks rather than collapsing them or axing them or withdrawing their lines so that they can no longer actually operate. On the bit about his role that he played, he insisted that he went through all the required channels in whatever action that he took as a deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, making the required recommendations. And if you look at the schedule or all the governors have their share that they work with in terms of supervision, HR issues, and all the rest. And he was then responsible for banking-related issues, supervision, and all the rest. And all the processes that he had to go through in approving these funds, he did that. So he was surprised at the action that now he's been accused that he actually didn't go through the right channel and he did things to personalize or benefit from these transactions that were extended to these commercial banks.
I remember him revealing that when it comes to UT and others, at the point there were investors who were willing to put money in, and he, when he was there with his boss, were actually considering that, and they were in the process of getting the monies in to get.
He then alleged in that interview that Republic Bank, that the parent company, had made an offer to actually take UT Bank, but just recently the PLC, or the parent company, issued a statement saying that yes, of course they were interested, but they didn't make any official commitment to actually purchase that bank. But again, we also had reports that there was another bank that was interested in UT Bank. So his argument was that he didn't think that was the right approach to go in dealing with these banks that were having challenges. I mean, the argument was that banks go through liquidity challenges, and you want to look at the cost of withdrawing their license to the economy and whether you can actually adopt a different approach in giving them the required liquidity to help turn around the operation.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that he is the person who's been prosecuted, not his boss at the time.
Again, if you go through the statement, interesting claim being made that he didn't go through the right channels and he did things that more of he personalized from that action.
So is it things that his boss was not aware of?
I cannot establish independently here, but I'm saying if you go through the statement that was filed by the state, and also maybe it could be that because of his schedule, he could be directly, but he claimed that whatever action that he took was actually everybody in the team. They were aware together. This is what they had to take,
and he told you as much. Yeah, this was a collective decision that
taken by the bank, and even the board was aware, and all the rest.
Yes, let's also. I guess the biggest surprise tonight is the inclusion of Mr. Raymond Amanfo, who
head of
used
banking
to be
supervision.
Head of banking supervision. The thing with him was he was there in 2017 when UT and Capital Bank were first,
that action was taken against the in terms of them breaching the liquidity requirements.
And the internet is replete. Ourselves, I've done several interviews with him in 2017, where he actually announced the details of the shutdown of these two banks.
It is interesting because, again, when you go to the claim filed by the state, they also believe that he didn't act appropriately in terms of the actions that they took, and he might have compromised himself in taking these actions against these institutions. So it is interesting that maybe he also acting as the direct supervisor for these commercial banks.
As the head of corporate supervision.
And most of the time, the request will come through the banking supervision through to the governor. So if a bank has a problem with liquidity issues, based on their daily monitoring and all the rest, the alert will first hit the banking supervision. Based on their assessment, they would make recommendations to the board of the bank or even management first. If it has to do with some serious capital requirement, maybe the board has to meet, which is chaired by the governor of the Bank of Ghana, and then they take a decision. So it could also be that in making that assessment, did it do the right thing by ensuring that when the money is also channeled down in terms of the liquidity support, it goes through the banking supervision to that particular bank.
And Joe, thank you very much, because this is the first time we were promised that some of the Bank of Ghana officials will be prosecuted as well. First time we've actually seen that the state is carrying out that particular threat that they issued some time back. Grateful that you could join me.
Now, he was suspended over allegations of his involvement in alleged fictitious deals in the payment of caterers of the school feeding program, and asked to step aside on December 13, 2018, after a national security investigation reportedly implicated him with what was described as a fraudulent deals in the running of the feeding program. This is a matter that we reported widely on. But the national coordinator, Dr. Kwame Edunsia, has been cleared of all the charges by a committee chaired by the senior minister, Yao Safumafo. Indeed, the three-member committee concludes that the Gender and Social Protection Minister, Cynthia Morrison, failed to provide any tangible evidence to substantiate the allegation of widespread malpractices leveled against Dr. Edunsia. Now, my colleague Elton Brobe has a copy of the report. He joins us in studio for more on this. So this is a case that, like I said, we've been talking about for some time now, yes, in 2018. Now, give us a brief background on this.
So, based on a national security report, the minister acted on this and wrote to the national coordinator to step aside based on some reasons. And key among them was the fact that he had overpaid some caterers and was also involved in deals that was contrary to the terms of his employment. And for that reason, he was asked to step aside. He wrote to government insisting that he was clean of all the allegations that were leveled against him. Government went ahead and set up this committee chaired by the senior minister, and they came to a conclusion on their probe in November And today, this report has been made available to the presidency for action to be taken.
Now let's dig into the report. Right. What did it say?
So what they first talked about the relationship that existed between the national coordinator and the minister before even the minister became a substantive minister. Now, here's what the report says in page 10. According to the senior minister's report, the minister felt slighted by a decision he took when the then supervising minister Hajia Alima Mahama directed the national coordinator to effect third quarter payments against the request of the then nominated minister, Mrs. Cynthia Morrison, to withhold the payments. Now, the committee said that we feel he acted properly and in line with his authority because Mrs. Cynthia Morrison was still a nominee awaiting vetting, confirmation, and showing in by the president. The minister would have acted ultra-virus if the coordinator had carried out her intention. The second point is that, according to the committee, Dr. Kwame Adunsia, the minister, then serving as a member of parliament, had accosted him and requested an increase in her allocation of schools in her constituency, a request which he turned down, explaining that the contingencies at the time could not support her request. This, in the view of the committee, was the beginning of the bad blood between the minister and the national coordinator. We consider in this circumstance that Dr. Kwame Adunsia interdiction was unfortunate, unfair, since no evidence was presented to the committee to justify this action. Emefa.
Interesting. So there were indications of widespread malpractices against Dr. Nsia, for instance, for which reason he was asked to step aside. Were these widespread malpractices confirmed by the witnesses that appeared before the committee?
In the executive summary captured in page 2 of this report, the committee says that the minister was unable to provide any tangible evidence to substantiate the allegations of widespread malpractices in the school feeding program, apart from the specific case of the Sechwe East constituency. Our interviews with the key people listed personnel in the report equally did not review any evidence of malpractices as alleged against Dr. Kwame Nsia. No such evidence of mismanagement, impropriety, or misconduct was established by inquiry since against the interdicted national coordinator, Dr. Kwame Nsia. It was established that acts of duplication, wrongful payment, error of judgment, and mismanagement of the program had occurred in Sechwe East as reported by the National Security Council. However, we could not verify reports of impropriety against the district chief executive beyond her acting in the increased number of schools under the program. So in their conclusion, no such evidence was established against the person in question.
So establishing that there's a bad blood between Dr. Nsia and of course the gender minister, Cynthia Morrison, what recommendations did the committee come to?
Interesting, Emefa. They are saying that they recommend that the interdicted national coordinator should be reinstated with all his benefits. However, we take note of the existing poor relationship between him and the minister that characterized his tenure. Therefore, other options may be explored, and they have two options. When the school feeding program was introduced under President John Ejikun Kufuor, it was placed under the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development because the administration of the program involved an interplay of ministers at the relevant district level. From our checks in 2012, it was moved to the current ministry when an hour later was made minister. The recommendation is that government should consider moving back the school feeding program from the Ministry of Gender and then let it come under the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. Secondly, steps should be taken to reintegrate Dr. Kwame Adunsia into the Trust Hospital. That's where he came from before he was seconded to the school feeding program. Dr. Kwame Adunsia could be reassigned to another institution within the public sector. Now they are saying that if government does not accept the fact that the school feeding program should move from gender to local government ministry, and in view of the relationship, the poor relationship that currently exists between the sector minister, Mrs. Cynthia Morrison, and the interdicted coordinator, they are suggesting that Dr. Kwame Nsia should be moved to another place, or better still, the 3 months salary due him should be paid, and then he should be let go.
Well, you've been speaking to both the sector minister and the interdicted national coordinator, Dr. Nsia. What have you been telling them?
The sector minister tells me that as far as she's concerned, this document has been referred to the presidency for action. They are awaiting presidential action on the recommendations contained in this Osafo Mafo's report. The man at the center of this controversy also says that he's just to be served with a copy of the official statement, even though he appeared before the committee and then provided all the evidence that he had at the time. And he's hoping that per the recommendations that he's been told by some, even though he has to be given an official statement, you hope that this matter will be cleared, and then you're waiting the white paper on the recommendations contained in this report.
But did she speak to the bad blood between herself and Dr. Mensah?
He said he was doing his work, and per what the committee reported, he acted within the laws establishing the school feeding program.
Elton, we are grateful. So that's the committee report, Evan.
So from one investigation outcome into the school feeding program, let's go to another outcome, this time on the controversial missing 400 tricycles in the northern region. We are now learning that the police are indeed done with the investigations, and they have exonerated all officials and individuals alleged to have been behind the disappearance of the disappearance. Well, let's get clarity from this. Let's speak to our colleague who has been following this for us, Elias, who joins us on the telephone line. Elias, you've been speaking to the police as they investigated this in the northern region. What more are you learning?
Well, the police have confirmed that they are done with the investigation that have taken nearly over a month now. The police said they have spoken to individuals and officials that were accused in that particular allegation. They have also spoken to officials and, in fact, security men at the Northern Development Authority, and they have now put together their report. And part of the report that was made available to us is that the police are saying that there's no evidence that these tricycles are missing. In fact, they are saying that they have enough evidence to say that these tricycles were not or are not missing. They are saying that the leadership of the Northern Development Authority, including the fired CEO, knew about the transaction that went on before this particular tricycle were moved from the facility. The police are saying that it wasn't, the tricycle wasn't moved from the facility on a single day as reported by Dr. Majid, but they said that it took these people 2 days to move this tricycle from the facility. Said the first movement started on the 26th of October. That was when one container was moved out of the premises. The next day, they came back to take 9 containers from this facility. Now, the police did not mention the Kandahar boys in that particular report. They say individuals that they have not been able to disclose their identity to us. They said that particular, only 3 members group came to take this particular tricycle, and they mentioned one, Abdul Aziz Abu, who they said led this particular group to come to the facility and pick this particular tricycles. They're also saying that the Northern Regional Chairman of the MPP was mentioned. A Deputy CEO of the Northern Development Authority was also mentioned, and they are now disclosing this particular Deputy CEO to us, and they said he's called Dr. Stephen Eggman, and they said that they have invited all these officials, they have investigated them thoroughly, and they have found no wrongdoing on their part, Evans.
As we speak, yesterday we learned about the discovery of the containers that were supposed to house these tricycles. But from what you're saying, the police investigation say, well, the tricycles were not missing at all.
Yes, exactly. They are saying that they have traced this particular incident, and they are not able to explain the motive behind or the motive, the reason why Dr. Majid, the fire CEO, reported the incident to the police, because per their checks, he was deeply involved in whatever transaction that went on before this tricycle were moved from their facilities. Now, the police are also adding that after their investigation, they have been trying to get in touch with Dr. Majid to come and substantiate or to come and clarify some statements or some issues that they have found in the course of their investigation. And Dr. Majid has not been available.
Elias, thank you very much. And so that's the latest Emefa on your favorite tricycles. We should get you one.
400, Abubuya.
Yes.
Anyway, let's see how it goes. Now, let's talk about the other controversial issue, and that's it rages. That's the Airbus bribery saga. It continues to unfold, and it is emerging tonight that the company also made political contributions to a Spanish foundation which is into agricultural development in Ghana. Already, the special prosecutor has been directed by the president to investigate findings of official court documents filed by the UK Serious Fraud Office, which reviewed bribes estimated around €5 million were paid by the aircraft manufacturer between 2011 and 2015, spanning the John Mills and John Mahama administrations. We'll tell you more about the political contributions, but first, here's a wrap of the issues so far.
Shocking revelations contained in the US and UK court documents emerged over this past weekend, detailing Airbus's admission of paying bribes to obtain business from the Ghanaian government between 2009 and 2015. Then the reactions began. Users on social media pointing accusing fingers at former President Mahama, naming him as government official one. But former Attorney General Marietta Bruopong in a statement denied any complicity of the Mahama government.
Indeed, the approved judgment of the Crown Court of Southwark approving the DPA between Airbus and UK Serious Fraud Office does not allege that any payment was made by Airbus to any Ghanaian government official.
Perhaps spurred on by the actions of other affected governments, the Akufo-Addo administration followed suit.
President Akufo-Addo has taken notice of the judgment and its implications and has referred it to the Office of Special Prosecutor to collaborate with its UK counterparts to conduct a prompt inquiry to determine the complicity or otherwise of any Ghanaian government official, past or present, involved in the said scandal, and to take the necessary legal action against any such official as required by Ghanaian law.
Even before the special prosecutor began his work, Director of Communication of the NPP, Yao Boabinge Samwa, insisted the former president is complicit in the scandal.
It's important that as General Secretary of the political party that has government official one as his presidential candidate, he sits with government official one, his presidential candidate, to determine the way forward.
But members of his administration, like former Deputy Education Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, jumped to his defense, denying his involvement in the matter.
Let us allow investigation to continue.
Is Mr. Mahama government official one?
So far as I'm concerned, he is not.
While the matter continues to rage on, another concern has come up. Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa is worried Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu may be caught up in a conflict of interest position.
Between 2009 till January 2012, Mr. Martin Amidu was part of that government. So it will be interesting to find out, does he know about it?
So that's the journey so far. Now, portions of the same U.S. investigative document is also revealing that political contributions were also made. Evans, you have more on that.
Yes, and this has to do, as you just mentioned, with the U.S. side of the investigations, and they disclose these so-called political contributions. If you look at paragraph 134, for example, I quote from there, it says, in fact, Airbus or its vendors had paid, offered, or agreed to pay political contributions, fees, or commissions in connection with these sales in the amount of at least 3.5 million euros. Now, as it relates to political contribution, it later establishes in paragraph 146 that on or about March 28, 2012, Airbus made political contributions in the amount of 62,200 euros to a Spanish foundation related to agricultural development in Ghana. Now, pardon me, it says this contribution was not initially disclosed. Airbus then subsequently disclosed the same to the State Department, and it says they did this out of the abundance of caution. And quote, as no direct link has so far been established between these political contributions and the relevant C295 sales so far. So although the document shows they claim political contributions were made to a Spanish foundation related to agricultural development in Ghana. However, so far investigators have not been able to draw a direct link between these political contributions and the Airbus aircrafts, the three of them that were eventually sold to Ghana.
Well, the majority leader has been speaking about it. Majority leader Seche Mensah. He was on our sister station at Empire FM, Sekusi saying, and he says that his minority side back then raised the red flags about the 24-hour rush for approval of documents to purchase these airplanes.
Obi cancer no kana kasa kwa nkora mpono a wonim baby a asem ne kohwe. They spoke about an elected government official.
Yes.
Who was in power in 2011 as a museum.
Yes.
And 2015.
And 2015.
He was still an elected government official.
Yes.
And omoka agent and asem. Agent why? Almost agent and also now you're related to the elected official.
The elected official, yes, that's true.
What you say? So therefore now oko omu emua obehu say ni bakro no.
So therefore no ebehu say agent no.
Obehu say agent no. And people know who that agent was and is. One may play role bia e Ghana ha. I've told you once I remember trail no.
Yes.
Say if he Defense Ministry and the Attorney General to finance to procurement back to Attorney General. It went to the President my executive approval.
And about Parliament.
June 21st.
One day now that's how you
there was no intermediary. There was no agent who was mentioned. Ekoban is saying. All that it means is that the purchase price deliberately was padded.
Suspicion, no.
That is it. Because I don't know. Commission friends saying one website now make us a true mono. One surprise in the hono. A year $22 million. Talking about the casa. Now what behind the casa was there 24 million euro. Then I'm making some and who calculate here $32 million. Now what behind the amount are?
But with all facts at our disposal, no, the records don't show say more work out in the approval process. Because now was our option to make a statement.
As I say, work out, but we said and yet hurry and safely home. So Bekaya 3 days after a press conference and spoke to it, says Sardines, we are chrono now about Omino. And the B Indian once and Baba. I don't know about
So Heather, the majority leader, my tree not good, but from the coaching that Elton has given me, he talks, of course, he talks about the elected officials. Starts by talking about the elected officials between the period of 2011 and 2015. We know who the presidents were back then, he says, and then also talks about an agent, and he says that the Ghana Armed Forces, everybody knows this agent that we are talking about, and that he did nothing, played no role, yet it's being mentioned that something was done, and he is mentioning also that everything was done within 1 day. That is on the 21st of June. Going to the defense, going through the attorney and getting executive approval. All that was done in a rush, 24 hours for approval to be given. He also talks about, the price of the aircraft being padded, because from the amount they got from the website of Airbus, for instance, the CASA was going for $22 million, but the government at the time told them that it was 24 million euros, and he did the calculation back then and says that it's been inflated by $10 million. That's what he's saying. And then the interviewer Obi asked him why they did not walk out and protest, as is normal practice in Parliament if the minority side has concerns about what is going on. They stage a walkout for posterity to show that indeed this is how they protested against the decision that was being taken. And he says that 3 days after, even though they protested and they didn't walk out, they held a press conference and said that this was going to happen, and indeed it has happened today, 9 years on.
Well, that's where we are with the CASA story. And as we already know, today the former commissioner of SRAJ, Justice Emil Short, has also been speaking about. He says the speculations about the identity of government official one who is alleged to be involved in the Airbus bribery saga amounts to jumping the gun.
There has been a lot of speculation about who is government elected official one and who is intermediary 5 and so on. I'm not going to join the bandwagon to indulge in the speculation of who these individuals are. I think we should allow Mr. Martin Amidu to conduct his investigation, and then we'll have all the facts. I'm sure that he'll be able to get to the bottom of the case.
What about the role of Martin Amidu himself? Yesterday, we had Suleiman Abrahima mention how he was Interior Minister in the past, and so he served on the Armed Forces Council. He's been Attorney General, who is a key government official when it comes to contracts. During this period, do you think that is something we should consider? Do you think he could be in a position of conflict?
But even if he is not able to handle the matter, let's not forget that there is a deputy special prosecutor and that there are other lawyers within the office. So the office is not just Martin Amidu. There is a deputy special prosecutor. So I think we should keep that in mind, that even if he personally is unable to handle the matter because he was part of the administration at the time, I don't know, I'm not sure, I don't think the deputy special prosecutor was part of the administration. So it's possible that she might be able to handle.
Emil Short there, and we also heard from the former Deputy Interior Minister James Agaga. In fact, he was a Deputy Interior Minister during the period when the transactions happened, and he says, well, they're ready to cooperate fully with the Special Prosecutor if he goes ahead to investigate the matter.
The NDC has made itself very clear on the issue of the referral by the President.
You approve it?
Yes, of course. We are ready to cooperate with the Special Prosecutor to get to the bottom of this matter. Yes.
George Affe is here with the latest from the world of business. George.
Hi, Evans. And you remember that just yesterday the Finance Ministry was able to close a $3 billion Eurobond. Well, we understand.
Was it oversubscribed?
Yes, of course, by 5 times. $15 billion worth of bids came in from investors who participated in the offer. We understand that cash should hit Bank of Ghana's account next week. We're hearing from the Finance Minister on what he's doing to ensure that these funds are directed to areas that were outlined in the prospectus. And the state moves to chart persons believes had contributed to the recent banking sector collapse. We're looking at the impact of this in the whole banking sector. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, and First National Bank. Now remember that we are celebrating 25 years when it comes to providing quality economic and financial as well as business news to our discerning listeners.
Hello, Mitanasina. Thank you for showing up at our monthly meeting. I have some good news for you today. Electricity credit, Hey! Oh, relax. I am not increasing it. I just want you to know, from today, you have your own meter. So now you buy exactly what you want to use. Flexi bundling.
What's your customize, Anna?
Oh, yes. Just like that. And it doesn't expire too.
Life is good with MTN Flexi Bundle. Now you have full control to pick and choose your very own bundle packages. Whether you want to bundle 3 pesos, 20 pesos, 20 cities, 30 pesos, or even 115 cities, we dare for you. Just dial *138# or *170# to enter any amount. And bingo, you are good to go. So go ahead and enjoy bundles that don't expire. That's why we're good together. We dare for you everywhere you go.
Mr. Barr has big dreams for his business, Barr & Co. Limited, and his family, making them a reality man to long drives and queues. He's lost precious time struggling to pay his suppliers in China, Turkey, India, and other parts of the world. With the First National Bank global payment via our online banking enterprise, he now pays for all that in the convenience of his home or office, giving him time to focus on family and growing his business. Use our online banking enterprise to access Forex, when you need it. It takes a bank that does more to help your family. So who's helping yours? First National Bank. How can we help you?
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop. Where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
We know it's important to create a productive and supportive working environment by investing in your employees' health. With a leading international track record, Apex Health Insurance is regulated and licensed by the National Health Insurance Authority to provide medical insurance services to institutional clients, families, and individuals. Apex Student Package and International Medical Solutions are all here to cushion you. Visit Apex Health Insurance Office at Zion House, Boundary Road, Shiashi, or call
0501-683-914
or 0232 000 015. In Kumasi, we are located opposite Prempeh College, Sofo Line, and in Takrady, Apex Health, your preferred health insurer.
Hey everybody, to go back. I'm inviting you all on the 14th of February to come through to the Labadi Beach Hotel. It's going to be 7 p.m. It is the Love Experience. Come along, let's have fun, let's enjoy, and come meet me in Komna as we give you amazing performances. 14th of February, Labadi Beach Hotel, 7 p.m. See you all there.
To buy your tickets for the Love Experience with Becca and Kwapna via Momo, just dial *920*50#. Select the buy ticket option and select option 3 to purchase it.
Shed your diamond, you made me so beautiful. Shed your diamond, made my life so meaningful. Shed your diamond.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has disclosed that the Eurobond cash would hit Bank of Ghana's account next week. Now, this was after it successfully raised some $3 billion from investors. The offer, we understand, was oversubscribed by 5 times to hit $15 billion. The minister has been speaking to Joy Business in an interview from London about this whole bond exercise. He first touched on how this inflow could positively impact on the Ghana cedi.
They are really quick, Once it's done, and we should shore up another close to $3 billion to Governor Addison's accounts, and I'm very confident that the CD is going to hold this year, even though it's an election year. As you know, we are also moving toward the royalties IPO, and we should bring some more resources, maybe about 300 million into our coffers. So we are good.
Sitting behind your decks and seeing the platform and all the rest and things are going on, how would you describe the process for yourself?
Each one you are still surprised because you know the turbulence in the marketplace, and you are hoping that a certain corridor is opened which sort of shields you from all of that, and whether that will then induce the investors to come in. So of course the morning begins and you are like, ooh, it's only $1 billion that has come in, and then it begins to trickle in. Then you're like, okay, let's wait for the U.S. to wake up, and the U.S. wake up, and then there's a shot in the arm of another $3-4 billion. Then you just kind of it's like watching a Ghana Black Stars match. It's very difficult.
I would ask that what went into this whole fundraising, especially your decision to do the split bonds?
Well, last year we tried the tranche of 7, 12, and 31 year, and this year did the 7, 15, and 41 years, and really testing to see the market's confidence in the long-term prospects of Ghana.
Do you think that you took a gamble, even with the timing?
It was. You remember last year we had the Argentina crisis, and Turkey was also, going through its own issues, and somehow a window opened for us, and we had a very successful issue. This year, of course, the coronavirus, and then the uncertainties of Brexit and the U.S. Impeachment, all of that.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta speaking to Joy Business from London today. Now, the state is taking steps to ensure that persons who are said to have contributed to the collapse of some banks in the country are brought to book. Now, this was after fresh charges were pressed against the defunct bank CEO Prince Kufoma, being former Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana Johnson Isiama and founder of the Unibank Dr. Kobna Dufo, as well as some individuals.
Including Raymond Amanfo, who is the former head of the banking supervision. It raises questions as implications for supervision of the sector going forward.
Even you're right on the one. Anytime that you engage the Bank of Ghana, they've made a case that they want to send signals that or ensure that this thing about never again. So anybody who's said to have been found by the law court as guilty, they will bring that person to book. It will then send signals to the current players in the banking industry that this current management would ensure that anyone that doesn't go through the right procedures, does the right thing, lead to the collapse of bank, falsified documents, they are going to bring that person to book. And this is more of a signal to place in the industry that there is going to be a new change in management and what they want to do going forward. Now, to other news, property acquisition in Ghana is said to have been fraught with some litigations arising from the lack of transparency. In some cases, third-party institutions or service providers are recruited to mediate in the transaction by holding in trust all financial products until both sides are satisfied with all the requirements. Now, such institution is Peterson Escrow and Land Title Services. Now, speaking at the launch of the company, to the technical director for lands at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, James Ebenezer Kobna-Datsun, said the escrow company is timely to help address problems in the sector.
We are aware of how investments in property, real estate, go bad because people put in their money only to realize that the land is not even for that person after all, and then he will either abscond or whatever. What we are doing now is that we are facilitating that amount of money being lodged in a safe place.
That's the technical director for lands at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, James Ebenezer Kobna-Datsun. And that's all for Business on Newsnight. I will celebrate 25 years of media excellence when it comes to financial news. And I always say, remember the Chidi and the City, Emefa.
Yeah.
Those days and
that's how your what is.
And that's how we celebrate business, and the excellence that we provided
that's
for
how your what is.
all the players in the industry.
Let's do some sports now, and Benedict is here with the details. Benedict?
Yeah, Asante Kotoko still they are winless in their last two games after a goalless draw with Wafa today, but it was a 7-goal thriller in Kumasi as a Great Olympics defeated King Faisal by 4-3. Now, Dwarfs shocked league leaders Indiana Stars at the Cape Coast Stadium after producing their best performance of the campaign to win 3-1. And of course, Dreams FC have returned to winning ways in the Premier League as they defeated Liberty Professionals by 2-1 at the Dewu Park. It was actually supposed to be a home game for Liberty, but because their venue, that's the Dansoman Park, now has been declared unfit to host matches by the club license, and they had to play that game at the Dewu Park, also known as the Theatre of Dreams. And as I mentioned, Great Olympics in Kumasi beat King Faisal by 4-3, and then Bukum Chelsea, they are back on top of the league table after they beat Karela by 1-0. And Jabila Abdul Karim scored the only goal as Legon Cities also won their game 1-0 at the Accra Sports Stadium against Elmina Sharks. Well, match day 8 will be completed tomorrow when Accra Hearts of Oak play host to ash gold at the Accra Sports Stadium. Well, away from the Ghana Premier League, government has pledged $100,000 for the activities of the Ghana Rugby Union. Now, President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo communicated this to boss of the Rugby Union, that's Mr. Herbert Mensah, when he paid a courtesy call on the President this afternoon.
And our lady here, our mother here, who looks after all of us at the presidency, the chief of staff, she's saying that from her very limited budget, she's going to be able to find a reasonable amount of seed money to help you, the cost of camping, and also providing a little incentive for you, especially now you've brought to us these 4 cups. So she's asked me to be able to tell you that she's going to make available to you $100,000 United States dollars.
So that's President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo speaking there. Now, the Ghana Boxing Authority Disciplinary Committee has wrapped up a meeting with boxer Patrick Alote. It is certain that the GBA will sanction the boxer, but the specific sanction will be officially communicated after 48 hours. And also, Odiani Gallo, you know him?
No.
Oh, the man from China to your team, Man United. Yeah, now he says he was so desperate to join Manchester United that he took a pay cut to make the deal happen and did not sleep the night. It was agreed. So dream come true for him.
Yeah, okay. We'll see how it pans out for him. Now, to our campaign now, Arrive Alive. Now, if you are a transport operator or a driver of a commercial vehicle, pay attention to what I'm about to say. Because beginning next week, the National Road Safety Authority will hit the roads and all bus terminals together with the police and DVLA, and you bet we'll be there. The mission is simple. All of you with vehicles that will be deemed unworthy will lose it, whilst those of you driving with fake or no licenses will also be dealt with according to law.
So this drastic measure follows the revelation that a good number of owners of commercial vehicles do not take their vehicles for inspection at the DVLA whenever the roadworthy certificate expires. Joining us is Latif Idris and engaged some of the transport unions here in Accra, and they confirmed it.
It's not a commercial driver, even the private cars, the company cars, they don't even take it there. They be in their so it's not like it's just a commercial driver. Even most of the do you know something? The circumstance whereby the driver may not go there with the vehicle for the registration. Maybe either the car is at a workshop, and since it's at a workshop, it's we don't get them notification because they don't have any cross that if your bus is at a workshop, they will stop it for you not to continue with the renewal. So most of the time, if it's at a workshop, maybe they'll finish maybe around the weekend and you have a job, you have to go and do the renewal. So that for me to be able to because DVLA don't come on Saturdays.
Well, I must confess, sometimes you slightly exceed that time you have to go for the roadworthiness, but in this period of intense scrutiny by us, you can record.
Of course.
So it's surprising that as many as 49 persons have already lost their lives in just 20 days and 6 recent tragic road crashes in the country. Well, we'll hear from the Road Safety Authority shortly, but first my colleague brings us a wrap of all these major incidents as part of our Arrive Alive campaign.
On January 14th, Ghanaians woke up to the tragic news of a head-on collision involving 2 buses at Dompase on the Cape Coast Takoradi Highway. In the accident, 34 people, including a baby, were killed. A 10-year-old girl who survived the gory accident lost both parents. However, her 7-year-old brother, who is unable to walk, continues to receive treatment.
It's been one hell of a time. They've engaged the services of a psychologist who started work today and has been working on them.
At dawn the following day, a commercial vehicle collided with a tipper truck at Abrepo Junction in the Ashanti region. 1 person was confirmed dead, whilst 10 others sustained various injuries. According to reports, the brakes of the tipper truck failed and the vehicle then ran into the commercial automobile. Fast forward to February 1 on the Cape Coast Kaswa Highway. 5 persons died on the spot when a cargo truck trying to overtake another vehicle collided with the Toyota minibus.
we don't want you to be part of that statistic, and that's why we're asking you to join our Arrive Alive campaign. That means that yourself have to respect the traffic regulations and behave on the roads. One person joining the campaign today is the Director of Planning and Programs of the National Road Safety Authority, David Adonting.
As an authority, we have come out clearly saying that the crashes occurred as a result of indiscipline, the human errors on the part of the drivers in particular, and the motorcycle riders. We have said time and time and again that it is important for us as individuals to really change our behaviors, our mindset, and to abide by the rules and the regulations. We have used your media, and here let me commend your outfits, Joy News and your Joy FM, and all the people there for your initiative, as in the Arrive Alive campaign. And with this campaign, we have already pledged our support. And yesterday we had a meeting with your team at the Ministry of Transport, where we're looking at how we can better the partnership and even bring all the media groups on board. What it means is that we want to scale up the education and the campaigns across the country. Now, this is the best we can do. The best we can do is that we create greater awareness.
So that's Mr. Adonting there. He is the Director of Programs
and
for
the
the
Road
National
Safety Commission
Authority.
is joining us formally in partnership to make this work.
Well, in Parliament, quickly, before we wrap up, there was a directive from the House. You want to tell us? And so the Ghana Law School, they've been directed to remark scripts of students who failed the 2019 entrance exams. The school published results of the exams last year, which revealed only 7% of students passed it. So they petitioned Parliament, and the House today approved various recommendations, including the remarking of their scripts.
Well, good news for you. If you're one of those affected, you get your scripts remarked. We'll see how that pounds. I will follow that and bring you updates once we get the results of that. Well, let's
get ready for February 14. Valentine's Day is the Labadi Beach Hotel, all roads lead there. We're getting our tickets, 700 Ghana cedis and 2,000 Ghana cedis. And as part of it, there's a love poem challenge. I'm so loving it. We've heard from the electricians, we've heard from carpenters and all. Today is the 10 of the steel benders, and we leave you with that as Nashoko and the team talks about how women express their love. I am Emefa Apawu.
My name is Mensah.
My deepest desire is to bend your heart